S.P.I.T, I, Arsh Rana, would like to extend a warm welcome to everyone here. With the growing craze of entrepreneurship amongst the youth in and around the world, it is critical to understand the nitty-gritties of how one can set up his or her own startup and get the necessary support in this day and age. Fortunately, our country now has plethora of startup incubators that provide all of the support and guidance that early stage entrepreneurs require. As an idea takes shape, there is a systematic doubt that evolves over time. How to set up a startup is a question that many aspiring entrepreneurs have. They are all very interested in the innovation and startup ecosystem, as well as the concept of angel investment and VC funding. This evening, we are delighted to be joined by two people who have dedicated a significant portion of their lives in assisting such startups.
So before we begin, allow me to introduce our distinguished panelists for today's panel discussion. The first one is Mr. Chandravan Singh. You might not need an introduction to our first panelist of the evening. He's the co-founder of 4 firms in 7 years, including Writopedia Consultants and the Big Bang Tool. He is currently assisting various tech entrepreneurs in growing and scaling the businesses in a world-class startup ecosystem. Let's welcome Mr. Chandravan Singh, the current CEO of our own SPTVI. And the second panelist for our evening is Mr. Sagar Chandni. Uh, he has a diverse professional background. He has over 9 years of experience working as an entrepreneur, consultant, community builder, and educator. He has worked closely with founding teams to provide feedback on existing products, services, new business ideas, work culture, learning and development, and marketing strategies. Sagar sir has also given workshops at IIT Bombay, IIT Delhi, Bombay School of Pharmacy, Xavier's Institute of Communication, Symbiosis, S.P.I.T, and a number of prestigious institutions. Through his workshops and online sessions, he has had an impact on over 6,000 people. Over to you, Mr. Sagar sir.
Thank you for your kind introduction, and looking forward to this wonderful session. Yeah. Hi, Chandraban. Hope you're doing good.
Yeah, hi Sagar, all good. Thank you, Isha, for the introduction. Isha, do we have a format or how do we begin?
Sir, there's no specific format. It is totally up to you, but there are a few topics that we would like you to cover.
Yeah, hi Arsh. Could you just define those topics so we are aware of how much and what to speak and what to limit today?
Okay, so the first one is basics of a startup, like what should aspiring entrepreneurs know, then how startup ecosystems work, and the concept of angel investment and VC funding. Like what should we know as aspiring entrepreneurs?
Okay, thank you. So I think there are three broad discussions, Sagar, we need to cover today.
Sure, sure.
Yeah, hi. Yeah. So basics of startup, the startup ecosystem, how a startup could leverage it, and a brief introduction to angels and VC, and again how and what a startup should do. So,
Sure.
let's keep it. How do you want to keep it, Sagar?
So I'm comfortable with anything. I think the best way would be, maybe you can start by sharing your perspective, and then I'll share my thoughts. And rather, also, I would encourage all the 20 plus participants to put their questions here, because let's take this as a Q&A session as well, because you might have some practical questions or some up challenge which could be very personal to you. So along with these three broad domains, if all the participants put up their questions, then we'll have a very good collaborative learning. So this is just one idea. Hope Chandraban that works best.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough, Sagar. So let's start basics of a startup. So I think most of us are audience today. They are students. They want to start. I believe few may have some kind of ideas, others might not have as of now. So let's understand what is a startup for, as a innovator. A lot of people are confused between a startup. A lot of innovators are confused. What is innovator? So am I an innovator? Am I a startup? A lot of professors also face this challenge. So
Yes.
let's define all these broad words before we move into the next part. Meanwhile, as Sagar commented, if you have questions, please keep on putting those questions, and we would love to answer them. So every kind of a discussion, we will expect few questions, and then we'll move to the next discussion. So I believe a startup is like so. There are two kind of business happening today. If we talk about at a small scale, at an early scale, so one is a person doing something. So I always give this example, the easiest example to start with. Let's say the person who started a first shop, that person was an entrepreneur because he or she found out that there is a problem of how we do the shopping. So maybe before the shop was invented or shop was who came into the existence, people might be going to the farm and saying, "Hey, I want to buy this stuff," and maybe barter something else. Or it could be they would go to a home and say, "I want to buy something from you," and then barter something at the same time. So some guy or some person, I would, okay, I'll avoid the gender stereotyping here. So some person might have thought, yeah, why not I start a startup or a shop where I collect all the community things that people need and I sell them from the same space. What's the problem this will solve is, you might not have to go to 20 places to buy 20 things. You might have to only go to one place and buy 20 things at the same time. So this person came with this idea. It was new because no one has done it at that time. So he or she became an entrepreneur at the same time because they were trying to solve a problem. So understand what they did. First, they were doing something which no one has done till now. They are trying to solve a real problem of the people, and they are taking a risk that this might fail because no one had done as of now. Now think today, if you start a shop, you are not taking kind of a risk because you know that if I start a departmental store or a grocery shop or a mobile shop, I know there are hundreds of shops around me. They all are working. I'm just catering to the same market, giving more access to the people, maybe giving discounts or accessibility in terms of the area, region, city. That's what I am doing right now. So I am taking a risk somewhere because it's again a shop. It might not work, but the risk is far lesser than the person who took the risk for the first time. I'm not solving a real problem right now. I'm just creating convenience, कि ठीक है, you might not have to go to 12, 20 kilometers. You might have to go only 2 kilometers right now. And third, it's not a new thing happening. A lot of shops are already there. So what you are doing is, in the second stage, you are creating a business, but not particular startup. Risk factors eliminated, other things are very standard right now. So this is how a startup and a business are differentiated. So if you are doing something new, if you are doing something which is risk with worthy risk, and something which is solving a problem, you fall into a category of a startup. Okay. Similarly, Byju's, let's talk about Amazon. So there were brick and mortar shops. This person thought, why not make it more convenient, and instead of going to one shop and buy everything, you don't have to go out itself. You buy from your own desktop or laptop or your phone. I'll do this. He again became an entrepreneur because again he's trying a problem. It's a 20th century. People are pacing. They're moving fast. They need time. So why not we save some time here? Because people don't like grocery shopping. It's waste of time, a lot of time. So he came up with this solution, and you can see 20 things at the same time and decide what to buy. So again, he's trying to solve a problem. Again, innovative, something new. Again, taking a big risk. It might fail completely. So he became an entrepreneur. Similarly, if right now we open any generic online store, it doesn't now become it doesn't fall into the category of entrepreneurship or a startup, as long as it's very common. There are few startups again in online shopping or maybe in this sector who are kind of innovating in some way and calling themselves an entrepreneur or calling their business as a startup. So this is a very simple example to understand what is a startup and what is a business which you are doing. Sagar, you want to add something on this?
Yeah, Chandraman, thank you for sharing this with a very good example. I think it makes it quite clear, and it actually differentiates between the so-called businesses and startups. And interestingly, that is in the last 5-6 years, this particular term has ignited in our minds, and we have been listening. And thanks to Shark Tank, we are all talking about startups and entrepreneurship at our home. I came across a very interesting definition, or rather, a very optimistic, definition of a startup, which resonates with what you just shared. That startups are the engine of exponential growth, manifesting the power of innovation. Several big companies today are the startups of yesterday and have become the shining beacons of innovation. And I think when you shared the example of Amazon, it's perfectly resonates with this particular definition, which I always use it, and whenever I share, it's actually the innovation is something that differentiates with so-called businesses. And we as community, we as startup founders, we are aspiring entrepreneurs, we are actually responsible for and for multiplying this particular aspect, that is innovation. So that is what differentiates. And just from an law point of view, I would like to just share a few things that what so for example, tomorrow, if you are applying for any government schemes, or if you are registering, so there are a few things that you have to be under a period of 10 years. There is a particular turnover, which is also one way of looking at startups. But at this stage, where I assume, and when I assume that you're all gathering information around startups, so rather think yourself as innovators, disruptors, and try to create solution that can really impact, not only create a social impact, but economic impact, and so on and so forth. So yeah, that's my perspective on startups. Yeah.
Sagar, I have a question for you here. So when we say innovation, right? So today's innovation might not remain an innovation in few years. Before it used to be decades, but I think not today. As we are moving forward in technology, within years, the innovation becomes a standard tech around the world, right?
Correct.
Um, so if someone wants to start something, and how, like, from the innovation point of view, because you brought this point which I avoided initially. So how they can clarify in their head ki, yeah, this tech means innovation, and this is what I should do, and that's why it could be a startup. So what could be that initial thought process around innovation which they need to be very clear of? Because I'll tell you why. Because a lot of startups today come to, in fact, they would be coming to you also, where they are still creating websites, or they are still into that social media
Got it.
kind of
Got
a
it. Got
phase,
it. Got
and
it.
they're still thinking, oh, we are creating a startup. What are doing? Either creating a social media or e-commerce platform.
Sure.
And I
So
have it takes a lot of efforts for me to make them understand this might not be you can say it's a startup, but it might not be innovation right now. World has moved beyond these technologies, so, and they might not work also today, because how the social media has disrupted, or maybe has stagnated right now. It takes a lot of efforts to bring innovation into that right now.
absolutely true, Chandraban. I understand. I hear your concerns in this question, and it's a very, very fair point, because I have also seen and experienced a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs coming, and they talk about, I'm building this startup. But one fundamental reality here is uh, there would be few companies, few people, for that matter, few entrepreneurs who would build something, and then there would be other people who would possibly try to build the same product or service, and which is quite fair, right? If there is an Ola, there is an Uber. If there is a Zomato, there is a Swiggy, right? And of course, at the initial thought, the thought itself of you having such a platform that can aggregate and provide food from one place to another with a specific radius, the idea itself is bit of an has an innovation in it. Like, for also for that matter, a Practo, right? Again, there is an overlap, there is a similarity between what a Practo does by helping us, give real time doctor appointment, be it online or going particular store, particular hospital. So of course, the initial germ of a thought is innovation. But what people basically lack, as Chandraban you rightly pointed out, is that they will create a website, they will do their marketing and social media and so on and so forth, rather focusing on actually building or actually filling the gap. Okay, now filling that gap is delta by 10, which means whatever existing solution that is there in the market, if your solution is 5 times or 8 times or 10 times better than that, then you're building a business. And in that process we'll have to be innovative. Otherwise, if today some, if as you know, as see today in this particular session we have 22 people here, and we all can actually, if we put in our minds, we all can create a Facebook or create a WhatsApp, right? Because all of us are, may someone will bring in their technical expertise, everyone will brainstorm. But we, at this stage, at a very very early stage, innovation lies in problem identification, and what is it that you are doing it completely differently. And that's where your business or your idea can exist, and that's why you will grow, that's why people will buy your product. And that's why there is a set of customers for a Flipkart, there is a set of customers for Amazon, there is a set of customers for Ola, there is a set of customers for Uber, and so on and so forth. So that is where we have to start. We have to, rather than copy something, or rather just focus on marketing, or rather than focus on just highlighting through our websites or any other things, let's try and focus and see in the process, are we innovating? And if we are innovating, then what is it that we are innovating? And then you can bring that up on the table and discuss with stakeholders, be it mentors, industry professionals, and that's where you will get the feedback. So that's my point, Chandraban. Yeah.
I think it's quite valid, Sagar. Thank you so much. So, Sagar, let's come to the group of people who are listening to us today. So, most of them are students, and today a lot of startups in India, thankfully, initially they used to come from IIMs and IITs, but now they are coming from a lot of other different colleges, and more beautifully, not from just tier 1, tier 2, but even like rural background or maybe tier 3 cities also, right? So that means innovation is everywhere. It doesn't restrict itself to some few colleges or few institutes. Having said that, how would a person identify someone as an entrepreneur or as an innovator? What is the key difference for you? I'll hear your answer before I'll comment from my end. So
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, Chandraban. Go ahead. Yeah.
So no, I think you can continue, and I'll have my answer afterwards. So I just want to hear from you. How do you define innovator and an entrepreneur, and how do you support or push those innovators towards entrepreneurship?
Yeah, that's a very good question, Chandraban, and I think that is really going to help the audience. See, entrepreneur is someone who understands there is a demand and supply gap. Okay, and the idea itself doesn't necessarily be innovative in that nature. It could be in a particular place. If X product is not available, you understand it. You understand that, okay, if I bring that product in my particular city, like say for example, in Pune, no one sells Delhi's chole bhature. I'm just giving an example, I'm making this up here. And then you see that there is an opportunity, there are students, you come in, you just replicate few things, or you have identified that there is an opportunity, you become an entrepreneur. The other is let me just share at least 2 or 3 types of entrepreneurs. Okay, this is an opportunistic entrepreneur. The other entrepreneur could be a necessary entrepreneur, which means that you have no choice. You live in a particular geography, or if there is some situation, unfortunate or fortunate, and then you have nothing to do, you started something. Okay, and then there is an entrepreneurship by necessity, right? Then we see, when we go out, we see vendors, we see a lot of people trying to sell stuff. Of course they are also entrepreneurs, but they are necessity entrepreneurs, they don't have any choice. Okay, the opportunity, necessity, and the social entrepreneurs. Then there are people who really are driven by social cause, and they really want to bring in their difference, and they will do whatever it takes to fill that social gap, and they'll try to say, for example, have their own blood donation units in their location, and so on and so forth, right? Or do something which creates a social impact, and they are social entrepreneurs. Whereas an innovator is always obsessed with a particular or rather is really going down deep and to understand what is it that can transform. What is this, what if whatever product or solution I am trying to build can really transform. And that's how today we have electricity, today we have cell phones, today we have internet. So the point here being, they're really obsessed and they're challenging the way things are working today, and they really want to build something that can really create a transformative impact. And that's how you see aeroplane, a very good example of innovation. So they are really, really right, brothers. Okay, we are taking this example because this is very important for us today, because we have to derive some learnings and we have to always stick to the basics, because today, unfortunately, the kind of world that we are exposed to, we are just following. And the biggest mistake as startup founders we end up doing is we are just following whatever we are looking at. We are looking at the opportunity and we are trying to build that, and we are trying to replicate that. But innovation comes from a deeper space. That's where we have to realize. If you remember the example of this particular participant who came in Shark Tank, whose name was what, Jugadu? I don't remember his second name. Jugadu, this guy who got very famous. He was building some particular farm product that can really Kamlesh, Jugadu Kamlesh. See, all of you remember, correct? So this particular person, he really created an innovative device that can actually help farmers. That's innovation. So this is something that I understand the difference between Chandraban and difference between entrepreneurship and innovation. Over to you, Chandraban. Yeah.
Thank you, Sagar. I think you have summarized, but I'll still put a few points what I think. See, you all could be innovators because you all are working in technology. You might be interested in some kind of a deep tech, understanding how this technology could solve some kind of a problem. But it may not be possible that you all become entrepreneur, which is very natural, because entrepreneurship has a very different skill set and innovation has a very different skill set. A person can be both, a person could be either of them. So I believe innovation is, I'll take a very simple example of Wright brothers. So they were the first people in the world to design a flight, and they took the first flight in the world. But they never owned airlines in the world. They never could own an airline. They could have done it if they wanted, but they couldn't because they were just innovators. They were not business oriented. They didn't have the business sense, understanding how money works. So an entrepreneur need not only be an innovator, but they can acquire innovation at the same time. But more than that, what they need is they need risk-taking capability. Can we take a risk monitoring? Can they have a vision of how to sell things? Can they see the problem which innovation can solve? And it's a dream, okay, I can see this problem being solved through this innovation, but can I sell this dream to everyone else also in the world? That's where they are differentiated from an innovator. Whereas innovator is obsessed with the problem solution, entrepreneur is obsessed with taking this problem solution and helping the actual people at the same time. So innovator will prove that this problem can be solved. Entrepreneur will take it to the world and actually solve the problem. So that's where I would see a big differentiation. Second, innovator are they're too much obsessed with the product or the solution they are creating. And this is where, if all of you, it's very simple feedback which I always give to my startups also, that please don't. It's good to create a product. It's very important to do it. It's necessary, but don't be obsessed with your product all the time. A lot of time I have spoken with my startups, 1 year, 2 years, the product is ready, but they're not ready to launch it. They're always telling me, "Nee, Chandraban, we are making it much better. We are making much better." I tell them, yeah, before you will make it best product, someone else will do it somewhere else in the world. And then you will have no chance to grow because they will always be in the highlight if it's a good product and they'll take it over. So never be obsessed. So why are they obsessed? Because somewhere that innovator thing is more in them than an entrepreneur. They're probably always feeling, yeah, this is my baby. I have to make it best and then only I'll launch it. See, nothing can be best at any time. Always you'll find some kind of flaw. So they keep on innovating, it's good, but afraid to launch it because of the same reason. And that's where an entrepreneur defines themselves and they create a very different identity from an innovator. They know when to launch because they understand the market, they understand the people who will use this product, they understand how to sell, they understand how to make business out of it. So the moment it's a ready product, they launch it, yet they will keep on improving as the feedback is coming. So they won't improve it and then go to the market, but they keep on improving at the same time. So as a group of students today, this is our feedback to you people. If you are innovating something, if you are creating something, please identify what you are. If you want to be an innovator, it's good. It's not bad to be an innovator. Most of the scientists today are innovators. See, a very simple example I'll give you. India is today leading in terms of creating COVID vaccines, right? We are known to create COVID vaccines, and like millions of vaccines were created every month, and it was like every day coming in the news. Do you know that only there were 2 or 3 companies creating COVID vaccines? That means there were 2 or 3 entrepreneurs selling that vaccine. But in each company, there were hundreds of scientists who were actual innovators who knew how to create that vaccine. So they never thought, yeah, I'll be the entrepreneur. If I'm creating the vaccine, I'll be selling it. No, they were only focused on making better, doing trial, testing, improving. That was their focus. But Mr. Poonawala, he had a different focus. He said, I want to sell the vaccine to the world, and my focus is to ensure that every day we can create millions of vaccines. His focus was not how to make better vaccine. He knew the innovators will do it. That's their job. They will do it. I'll give them the freedom. So if you can identify what is your core area, are you an innovator kind of a person? Are you an entrepreneur kind of a person? Then it helps a startup. Again, startup needs both qualities at the same time. It could be single person doing both, or it could be 2 people doing in the company, one person focusing on the product, one person focusing on the other aspects. But you need to identify, and if you once you identify, you play with your strengths afterwards. So if you know you are an innovator, then let's focus on innovation and find someone who could be an entrepreneur with you and sell the product and go into the market, give you the right feedback at the same time. If you are just an entrepreneur, find a person who can make your product perfect to be launched into the market. And if you have both the qualities, that's the best. It's easy for you then to move ahead. So I think that I'll stop on this question at the same time. I believe. Sagar, what?
Very, 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 very interesting perspective. That was really, really nice. I think thank you for sharing that. Yeah.
So, Sagar, I think one point I want to touch upon, we kind of missed it somewhere. We discussed about startup, but we didn't discuss about entrepreneur. So, and I remember the moment you said, someone could be selling, someone could be, opening a shop. See, a person who opens a shop can still be an entrepreneur. It might not be a startup, but they can still be an entrepreneur. So they are very 2 different set. People always mix them together. A startup hai to founder will be an entrepreneur. If a person is an entrepreneur, they are working in a startup. There are 2 different things. Startup is a entity. Entrepreneur are a people, and they have a different skill set. They might not be working in a startup to be known as entrepreneur. A lot of companies, big companies, MNCs today, they prefer people who have skill set which defines them as an entrepreneur. So there are very few skill set. Sagar, if 2 or 3 skill set you want to bring it out, what defines you as an entrepreneur? And then I think then we'll end the first question of basics of startup.
Yeah, sure. I think the first skill set, that goes is the problem solving. We are entrepreneurs are problem solvers again, and most importantly, I mean, this is a skill which is highly underrated but very important. The listening skills, because we have as entrepreneurs today, we as again, even if you be part of any organization, you work for any organization, or you build your own business where you will be interacting with various stakeholders, starting from your team to your clients to your investors, and most importantly, the most important stakeholder is your customer, right? And if we are not listening to their concerns, if we are not understanding their ground reality, we are not understanding their real time challenges, then we will not be using those insights to create a better product or a service. So listening skills for me is the skill, and all will actually eventually come into picture. But listening, and we have to have a problem solving mindset. And when we talk about problem solving, is trying to see the reality as it is, and then then try to address the concern. The problems can not only be related to the product or service you are creating. It could be within the stakeholders, it could be within your team. So how efficiently you're solving that problem will also help you. And that is something that we have to continue to grow and continue to learn and read more information on how we become better problem solvers. That's the second skill. And one more skill that I feel is writing. Okay, this comes like a skill which is which we have we are learning from our college and school days, right? But as an entrepreneur, you have to clearly, as I mentioned, communicate, right? So the more better you write and you articulate your thoughts, it will be very, very efficient and effective. The time when you start having conversation with your investors, the time when you have conversations with big ticket clients. So these are some of them are very underrated, because in general life, we are asked to develop an entrepreneurial mindset. We are asked to build our skills bit, and so many skills there are there to learn. But these are few skills which I have seen a lot of startup founders practicing in the last many years. And whenever we have this conversation with them, they somewhere highlight these top three skills. So yeah, this is something that I can share quickly.
Thank you, Sagar. I think with that we'll wrap up the first part, basics of startups. So any questions from the audience? Okay, no questions. So we'll move on. Okay. Yeah, Arya Patil has asked question. Many startups in their initial year don't generate profits or revenue. So how can we value a startup or the idea on which it is based on?
Take it, Chandraban. You take it. You share your perspective, and then I'll share.
So, Arya, I think till a startup is very mature enough, there is no hardcore rule how we value a startup. It's all about different parameters. First is how the founders are in the team, how dedicated they are, what kind of a problem they are solving. Um, any numbers to put on, let's say if they could some kind of revenue is generated, some kind, not, I'm not talking about profits right now, just maybe revenue or some kind of IP they are creating, the team they have. So all these factors, and very on the top would be the founders, and their vision. That will help them define what could be the valuation of a startup. And it's all like very, very personal, like I might say a valuation of X crore and Sagar might say 2x at the same time, because Sagar sees it, that problem and the founder in a different way, I will see in a different way. So early stage is always like this. That's why a lot of different modes of funding are coming today, where you don't value also a startup saying okay CCPS karte hai, where we'll get the valuation whatever the next round happens. So I don't want to take that headache of valuing a startup right now. So a lot of these new instruments are coming today because of the same problem. It's very difficult to give a value to a startup initially. Sagar, your take?
Yes, true. See, if I completely agree with Chandraban. And by the way, if you're asking this question technically there are about 6, 7, 10 methods to evaluate startup, which we will not enter into detail today. But if you're asking and you want to research for yourself, feel free to go and read about discounted cash method, the risk factor summation method, future valuation method, the market multiple approach, cost to duplicate approach, so on and so forth. But at this stage, this is good. Knowing technicalities is always good. But when you are in your initial stage, and you mentioned that profits or revenue have still not been generated, right? So this is the stage, Arya, we have to start focusing on our customers. Let me just highlight a very important point here. Top 10 in the list of top 10 reasons why startups fail, the one reason is startups are busy chasing investors and not customers. yes, it is important to be and we should learn about different valuation methods, but at the same time, let's focus on what's not working, how it can work. Let's focus on problem solving. Let's see how we can get more customers, how to actually create value for customers. And that's where, this is where you can start focusing on. And I'm assuming and answering this question that you are at a stage where you are possibly ideating, or you are at your initial stage. So I really want to direct your thoughts and energies on just customers, customers, customers. That's it. Yeah, that's my perspective.
So we have a next question from Harditya Shah. It's a very personal question to me, so I will.
Go ahead,
So,
Chandrakan, answer. Yeah.
yeah. So broadly, I would say no change because there was no CEO before, so I had to additionally take charge of both the things. But if you ask about what's the difference between a role of a COO and CEO, then I would say, as a COO, it would have been more about whatever is there in the team, ensuring that everything is run smoothly. You are ensuring that all the work has been done properly. Your operations day to day, monthly, yearly are in a way it has been described or discussed. For CEO, it would be more about what next. Okay, this I have achieved this. What next for my team? How can we grow? What new projects we can take care? How we can make our incubator profitable, or any it could be any company, or sustainable. I would say for incubation center, it's more about sustainability than profitability. Um, Reaching out to your stakeholders, creating a relationship with the stakeholders. So those are more focused area, I would say. Next, we'll move to the next question. So Hardik is asking Saga, both like both of us, ki we have been involved with startups. So any three teachings we have come across through our own journey?
Yeah, three, you could have answered three.
Sorry?
But still, three teachings. First is what? First thing, take care of your team. Very important, because these are the people who are trusting you at your initial stage. They are the people who are believing in your dream. So please take care of your team. A good team can build multiple businesses. Let me just quickly give you an example, very, very quick example. Uh, Twitter was trying to build something that YouTube already did. Okay. The team of Twitter went back to their investors and they said, please take the money back. Investor said, no, no, keep the money with you. We know you guys are a great team. You guys can do something big. And that's how Twitter happened. So, first thing, take care of your team. Second, very important. Of course, I will equally rate it, but as I mentioned last time, we are in the business of creating value for our customers. Okay, we are. I do not believe in the concept of customer is the king. I'm not sure whether the customer knows that he is a king or not. But I know one thing, as a startup founder, I have to create genuine value for customers. And genuine value is not created by giving them deep discounts on a product. Genuine value is created by really giving more than what you can give, or really at least giving something on the solution that you believe that the solution you would consume yourself. That is how we have to think. That's the second part. And the third part is stay perseverance, very important. We have to really build our emotional intelligence as much as any other type of intelligence. Emotional intelligence will not only help us grow with time, but it will also help us become better leaders, and it will help us serve the different stakeholders that are working with us. So that is something that I would like to share. These are the three things which I have learned, and whenever I listen to a TED talk, or whenever I interact with startup founders, or whenever I am part of any workshops, these three somewhere summarizes. So that's my quick three. Yeah.
Thank you, Sagar. Um, so I have three personal learnings here because out of four startup I founded, three failed miserably. So I have a specific reason why each of them failed. So my first startup failed because there was no market for it. So it gave me a very big learning that you can't replicate everything across the globe. So I came across something in Europe. I found it very interesting, and I was one of the customer of that product in Europe. So I thought okay, this could be done in India, and I was very intrigued to launch it in India. By the way, that product is yet to be launched in India. That it's a product come service you want to say. So still 10 years later on, still we are not ready for the product. So if there's no market, don't, even if it's a good idea, don't launch it. It will fail. You can't replicate everything across the globe. Every country has a different need, different kind of a culture. So not everything might fit in. My second startup failed because of two reasons. No team and no intent. So I think the second reason was because of the first reason, that I, again, beautiful startup when I was in Europe. Again, second startup which came from these two ideas came from there only. Okay, this is can be done in India. It's a very beautiful idea. This had a market also, but I only did it because I like the idea. But once I started executing it, I found it key. This is not me. I am not 100% into this idea right now. So I might be a good customer, or I might be a valuable customer to this idea, but I might not be a good implementer for the same idea. So intent loss was because of intent. Thankfully, I did not hire a lot of team members because they would have been disappointed. Yeah, I hired them, and then later on, it didn't work out. Um, Unfortunately, I lost a lot of money in this startup because whatever earnings I had, I put everything. It was a very, and the only startup I did was very tech involved. It was very tech heavy startup at the same time. So tech needs money. So lost a lot of money also. So yeah, if you don't have a right intent, please don't take a startup just because it's in the market. I thought I took it just because it was, I felt it would be cool idea to take it on. So the repercussion is there in the end. The third idea was some. So now these were not the problem with the third. It was a good idea. It was a good innovation. My intent was there. I got a team also. Got a co-founder immediately. But after 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, it failed because we couldn't innovate the idea as we moved on. So we were the one of the few people trying to work on this idea on this industry. However, in 2 3 years, a lot of new players came with new innovation, new way to work it out, and we kept the same way. Tradition, the way we started, we continued the same way. 2 years we didn't innovate, and we found ourselves going out of the market within 2 to 3 years when other people were taking it over. Somehow we couldn't innovate. It could be, I don't know what was the reason. It could be we couldn't think beyond what we were doing, or we were too proud of what we were doing at the same time, or too rigid of what we were doing at the same time. But that's how it happens. So you have to reinvent your idea every day, every month, every year. You need to be very innovative and understand the market, how the other competitors are adopting the same kind of an idea, and then maybe make a change to survive and then to succeed. Thankfully, in my fourth startup, I did not had any of these problems, and that's how, or that is the reason why that continued, to grow, and it's still thriving right now. So I think that's my learning from my journey for last 7 years before I came to SPTBI. So I think we'll move to the next part now, which is how ecosystem could support, and how innovation could happen because of the ecosystem, and how much value do how much value a startup should give to the ecosystem. Sagar, I think you have been into the ecosystem for last 5 years, so I'm a bit new compared to you. So I think I'll give you the opportunity to start with this answer.
Yes, sure. Thank you, Chandraban. So, interestingly, I had a session in the morning around leveraging global startup ecosystem. So, let me share some learnings. Yes, incubators, accelerators, investors play a very important role. But let me quickly highlight there are other important ecosystem players. So, this is just for your learning. So, I'll just touch upon it. Maybe in some time in the future, we'll actually have a workshop around this. But what comprises of a startup ecosystem, right? Let's briefly learn the terminologies, and maybe later we can research for ourselves and find more information around it. And of course, it's very easy, right? So there are about 13 players who actually comprises of a startup ecosystem, right? It starts with your college, your university. the e-cells, they play a very important role in organizing similar workshops that we are having right now. There is a knowledge transfer, knowledge sharing that is happening, right? So these initiatives done by e-cells in universities play a very important role in creating an ecosystem. Then the other ones are the advisory and mentoring organizations, right? Uh, we know the KPMGs and the Deloittes are consulting a lot of companies, but there are other lot of there are a lot of small and mid-size SME, MSME consulting firms that are actually supporting startups. So they are in fact, KPMGs and Deloitte are also having the startup consulting and advisory wing. So they are also playing their role. Right? And of course, startup incubators, startup accelerators, co-working spaces. Usually we see a lot of action happening even in co-working spaces when funded startups, or rather, not only a startup, where a group of people come together and build their business. There is a lot of networking and cross domain interaction happens between the various players. So they also play a very important role in creating an ecosystem. Then service providers, of course, your CA, chartered accountants, uh, company secretaries, legal lawyers, they also guide early stage startups on mistakes to avoid. They also consult, and they also solve for compliance challenges. So they are also, they play a very important role. Then event organizers, right? uh, when you there is a community called as TIE, and there are so many of them. TIE is one of them. In certain contexts, TED also does that, Head Start does that, then Techstars that there are many events that are happening. Even a lot of events happens in incubators, right? Be it physical events, vertical events. Then there are a lot of event partners such as Meetup, Insiders. So they are actually facilitating such events where startups, or people who are wanting to build wanting to network with people in the same domain can come together, or even for that matter cross functional domain, people from different domains coming together to meet. So they also play a very important role. Startup competitions, we spoke about Shark Tank. There are many, there are many happening globally. There are so many competition pitches even happening in colleges. That also plays an important role in shaping up the ecosystem. Then of course, investor networks, you know investor networks of angels. We'll talk about it maybe in the next segment, how group of people come together, they fund startups. Then venture capitalists such as Sequoia, Kalari, many or more, which you can read how they come together. Then crowdfunding portals. Now, Sateek is SATEEQ. Sateek is one of the growing crowdfunding portals in India, where even all of us can, if we want to invest in startups, we can also do that. Let's Venture is one of them. So crowdfunding portals also constitute of building this ecosystem. And then other funding providers, such as, there are a lot of government grants that are available for startups. There are banks offering loans. So they also play a very important role in building this ecosystem. And finally, startup blogs and media, yeah, like for example Your Story, INC 42, right? They also play a very important role in facilitating information on a particular sector, on a particular startup, and sharing their success stories with us so that we get inspired, right? So this all comprises of a startup ecosystem. So here are a few things that basics we touched upon. So I think this will help you. Yeah.
Thank you, Sagar. Um,
Yep.
so I'll be brief on this about ecosystem. It's very understandable thing that we all need support. It's very difficult to survive as an individual, as a person. Similarly, a startup, ke liye bhi it's very difficult to survive because there are so many reasons a startup might fail that you might even not know. There are like probably financial reasons or law statutory reasons, government changing few policies, those could be the reasons. Market not able to reach out to to your customer could be the reason. Your team problems could be a reason. Thousands of reasons why you could fail. And I will give you a very simple example, and I think that's where you will correlate. When a human evolved, they were very, we everything is born to die, right? We all die one day. It's a natural fact. So when we were in the initial evolution stage, there were few ways a human would die. Simple, some other predator would eat you. Some, it could be a disease, it could be an accident, or it could be a fight. 5 6 reasons how would you be dying. But as we evolved, we also created new ways to die. Today, how can a person can die? Accidents, uh,
Clicking a selfie.
yeah, like so there are so many car, aeroplane, or new kind of diseases, new kind of communicable, non-communicable. They are evolving. So what we do to that? So we have created ecosystem around, so human. We live in society, right? So we have created society, and we have in the society the different partners we have created who help us survive. So insurance companies, doctors, safety hazards के लिए safety products. So we are creating ways to survive. Similar way, think of an ecosystem for a startup. That's what we do as an ecosystem. Help a startup survive from any kind of way they can die. So the think of a way startup could die, there will be ecosystem partner for you to survive for the same reason. So all of what Sagar shared. So these are same list I have. So I won't want to again, emphasize on the same ecosystem partners, but just want to say that that's the role. So you might not know that there could be kind of ecosystem partner, but you might have. So because there is an ecosystem partner, you should understand that there is a reason why they are there. So it's not like they just evolved out of nowhere. There was a reason startup might have been feeling, and that's why the partner evolved. So identify the way you could fail if you're doing a startup, and then find a partner who would support you in that way, that you might not fail because of that reason. So lot of we'll move to the third question, which comes from the same question about angels and VCs, because 90% or I would say 80% of the startups, they always focus on one thing, that how we can get funding. So they will always focus on an ecosystem partner who can help them getting the funding. They miss out a lot of different reasons why a start. Again, I'll put how Sagar said initially, a lot of startups run behind getting money, forgetting that even making the customers happy is a priority for them. Because we identify in ecosystem paisa chahiye, we need money. So who will give us money? Ecosystem partner who has money, VCs or angels. So we go to them. So we develop our startup according to them, and that could be a way we create a new reason to for our startup to fail. So identify all those ecosystem partners, understand their support, understand how they can support you, and identify how your startup can benefit out of them. May not be all ecosystem partner might be useful to them, but majority of them will be useful to them, to you. So identify your ecosystem partners. How can you do that? Identify the problems you might have, and then you will know who can help you out. You might not know the name, but you will understand what kind of category of ecosystem partner you need. So incubation could be an ecosystem partner who you might need. Accelerator could be an ecosystem partner. VCs could be an ecosystem partner. Institute R&D research bodies could be your ecosystem partner. Labs could be your ecosystem partner. You might not ever realize, because do a partnership and they can subsidize probably the innovation you are doing, or they can provide you some technological help वहाँ पे. So identify all these ecosystem partners, and your survival rate will grow. Understand not every startup survives, but even if survival rate is 1 for an ordinary startup, with these ecosystem system partner, it might become 10%, which is, you might say, still less, but think from 1 to 10 is like 10x. So your survival chance will increase 10x because of these ecosystem partners. These That's the reason why they're so valuable, important to you. Might not be everyone, but there will be someone who will be valuable to you. So identify those, identify the challenges in your startup, how it might fail, and then you will be ready to identify the right ecosystem partner for yourself.
And just to add one point here, since we were at an early stage, right? So if we were to have startups divided into various stages, say at this stage you would be in ideation stage or concepting stage, or rather commitment stage. Let's put it that you are in ideation stage, or you are trying to finalize your startup. You are concepting it, trying to prototype it, and committing to what you're doing. So this is the stage where possibly e-cells, incubators, your whatever that support system that is at a very initial that they support. Once you have committed the idea, once you are in the incubations, you are trying to gain support, then the acceleration happens, because then you are actually serving customers, and now you want to grow. So I will just end here, because this is where we have to focus at this stage. Though we will be discussing few things about angel investing, but at this stage, I will always force this thought that we have to work on building our prototype. We have to find right customers and focus on customers. Yeah, that's the only point. Yeah.
Thank you, Saga. I think a very valid point, and it's more than understanding what are your ecosystem partners. I think it's very valid to understand in which stage are you right now, and then identify your ecosystem partner. It doesn't make sense for a ideation starter to think about who will be my legal or team, who will be my CA right now. That you don't need them right now, so don't worry about it. Why waste your energy efforts on those ecosystem partner who might not be required right now. Don't worry about your angel investors right now. Think about the easiest ecosystem partner you need. You have to validate your idea. So what do you need? You need someone who can mentor you, hold your hand at the same time, and take it further. If you are doing a deep tech, probably then someone from the colleges, or someone who can give you, or if you're a hardware startup, in some labs who can provide you with all the equipment. So identify in the early stage what is the support you need at this stage, and then focus on those ecosystem partners only. Rest will come as you grow in the different stage. Having said that, I think we have a question for both of us, Sagar. How has the pandemic affected the startup ecosystem?
The maximum funding that has happened is during the pandemic, Akshaya. So we can be more optimistic. The other thing is, pandemic I understand someone who would have started a boutique, or someone who have started a restaurant on the 8th of March, sorry, on the 18th of March, and then on 19th of March he has to say that 20th there will be a lockdown. I understand their situation. But then the other way around, there was a complete turnaround on the edtech sector. There was a complete turnaround on the way we communicate. Who could have imagined a lot of virtual sessions that are happening right now? This is a product. Even this session itself is a product of a pandemic, right? We're okay to have similar sessions online, virtual, correct? So I understand, it has affected, but I think one thing that has happened now, from now onwards, post the pandemic, a lot of business consciously, subconsciously will be building businesses that will be pandemic proof. That, because this is the best thing that we could have, best thing in the way, in a very, very, very optimistic sense I'm sharing, that we could have experienced, right? Like, now we had so many things to already think about before starting the business. So now whatever we'll be building, we'll be trying to build something that can, even if something like a pandemic happens right now, how we can even overcome that. And I think that measures are already in place, which we will see in coming times. But Akshaya, a lot of sectors have grown. Technology sectors has grown, insurance sector has grown, and then again the other side is the event side, the movies. You see a lot of theaters are still empty. So there are sectors that have been affected, and I think so they are evolving and growing. But overall, if you see, and I'm not saying this because I naturally have an optimistic mindset, but I understand there's a lot of positive development that has happened in terms of growth in this pandemic era. Yeah. Chandraban, feel free to add your suggestions, points. Yeah.
Yeah, hi Sagar. So I think pandemic had two different kind of effect. Yeah, definitely a lot of startups struggled because a lot of ecosystem. See, ecosystem is was there, but ultimately customer nahi tha. That's where they suffered. And in the same way, a new challenge came to the ecosystem. Yeah, how to solve a problem when they're virtually everyone is a virtual. So a new product problem came. So new ecosystem partners also evolved at the same time. All these Zoom calls, it's a product of a startup, right? It's a startup and solving a problem for a startups also at the same time. Okay, you could be virtually connected, do meetings and everything. So a new partner came into the world. Today we try to get these credit from these partners saying, yeah, Zoom and Gmail can we get credit for our startups? Why? Because it has become a startup ecosystem partner right now. If startups want to do meetings, can they do it virtually? Yes, they can do it. So let's get Zoom on board as a partner. So new problem has a new solution. So a new ecosystem enabler has come at the same time. Secondly, pointing out to that industry cinema which has suffered. I think that's the most hospitality and travel hospitality and cinema has suffered a lot, and India is still suffering. So there also you will see a lot of innovation has happened. If not, adaptability of the already existing innovation has happened. Check the numbers of OTT platforms who were before pandemic and today they have grown manifold. All the movies used to come on OTT after some time at a very small price was given. Today people are only dealing here. We don't release the movie on theaters. We do on OTT, and the amount has increased. A lot of new age content creators have come. I know one particular person who has started a startup at Stage. They got funded within the pandemic. They only do Haryanvi content, and they have grown into a big startup, from big startup to big content creator within 2 years, because pandemic helped them. They identified a new problem, that how to get content, how to reach to the people, and from there they came into a and I'm telling you, bilingual or a different language content will be a big thing in India, because today we are moving beyond English today, and adaptability is so high in India in terms of technology that almost you go to your houses and your grandfather might be using YouTube today. They might not be comfortable in English. So new content is coming. I was amazed when I saw my mom using YouTube and watching some Hindi and the local regional language content, which she would never did 2 years back. And now she's so comfortable around it. She shares recipes from the same at the same time. So yes, pandemic has changed in both good way and bad ways. But see, every 100 years they say there's some kind of a pandemic happens. It will definitely shape up the world, shake the world. But when you shake something, new thing comes up. So we have to be optimistic in that way, as Sagar said, and move on and identify that problem as a new chance to create something interesting. So every problem is a challenge, and every challenge provides an opportunity.
Absolutely. In fact, Chandraban, it has actually changed our behavior. So the affected part is the behavior. Imagine the amount of content. It has actually challenged the behavior, and actually it has evolved with us in that behavior. So this is what has happened. The customer behavior has shifted. And when when Chandraban shared an example of a lot of OTT players coming in, so behavior of consuming content has changed. So as a startup, Akshaya, if you are wanting to build something disruptive, let's focus on the, again, consumer and their behavior, and then try to adopt and try to think if how my product, be it a product that can be a food or a tech platform, can be consumable. That is where we have to focus on. Yeah.
Thank you, Sagar. I would want to we'll end this topic and move on to the angels and VCs. There are two points I want to share. So one of our startup was into offline education, edtech. Pandemic completely disrupted how they would do the business. They were not able to do, but the team and tech was strong. So Byju's got them, and then converted that offline into an online mode, because they were not able to do it by themselves. So there was no customer for them, and then they need money, to move from offline to online. But Byju's liked the idea, and they were able to sell it to the Byju. So the whole team got merged into Byju's for 20 CR at the same time. So it's never a hard no for a good idea, even if the time is challenging for them. So that's another way of looking. Even if you say, yeah, I can't do anything. There's nothing I can do right now. Still, if your product is good, something might happen for you. You just have to keep your eyes open. They work with ecosystem, and the ecosystem helped them, connected them to the Byju's, and this happened. I think that's it. I wanted to share on that. If we don't have any further question, we'll move to the next question, which is always a discussion for a startup. How angels and VCs, can be a opportunity for a startup, and how a startup should move towards them. So any process, any useful step for getting funding from angels and VCs? So I think I'll give a small brief before Sagar. Maybe you can join in. A lot of people here today, they always focus on angels or VC funding. It's very obvious because you need money to grow. But at the same time, I believe a lot of people overemphasize, and it's a thing in India. It's a very Indian thing because of two reasons. We are always celebrated for something. So there are trends in our society. Sometime it was being an IITian, so engineering became a trend. Afterwards, IIMs and MBA became a trend. So we wanted to be an MBA person or go to IIMs, and our family could proudly say that my kid is an MBA today and earning XYZ amount of money. Today it has become towards entrepreneurship. So again, we have this thing: if you're an entrepreneur, that means it, because everyday news comes about funding. So I'm only a successful entrepreneur if I get funding right now. I'm telling you, a lot of startups could be a good startup without funding. Also, they don't need funding. If you're sustainable, why do you need funding? But a lot of good startups, even after sustainable, they ask for money, saying, and I tell them, what is the plan to get money? And they say, I don't know, like we need money to grow. I say, but you're already profitable. What is the plan? They don't have a plan, but they want to reach out to VCs and angels for the funding. Having said that, it's again at the same time very important for a lot of innovation to get funding. I would believe there are different ways of getting funding. Don't go for angel VCs directly on day zero. There are steps. So if you can move in that progress line, there will be a good chance of you reaching to a right angel or VC in a right or proper way. The best way is, if you are a startup, if your parents, your family doesn't believe you, it will be very difficult for you to make others believe. So I gave a very simple example to one of a founder who came to our incubation center, and that person, the first question the person said to me was, "Sir, will you help us in getting funding or raising funding from VCs?" I said, "You are just come in. Let us discuss more thing about your idea. Why are you discussing funding?" He said, "No, it's already launched, almost launched, and we need funding right now." I said, "How much money you have funded?" She said, "Not at all as of now, because so she was a techie, so she developed the website and everything." So I said, "Good. So have your parents funded?" She said, "No, parents are not funding right now." And while she was saying this, she had a very new iPhone in her hand, and I just asked randomly, "Oh, nice phone. Which one?" She said, "iPhone 11, 12, whatever new at that time." I said, "But how did you get it? You're a student." She said, "My father gifted me on a birthday." I tell, your father could gift you a 1 lakh iPhone on your birthday, but won't give you 1 lakh for your own startup. That's a sad state. I told her on the face कि आपके पास आईफोन, आपके पेरेंट को इतना विश्वास है कि दे गिव यू आईफोन, my kid won't break the iPhone, it's good, let give her iPhone, but won't give you 1 lakh rupee for your startup, saying कि you won't succeed. How, if you can't sell it to your father, how will you sell it to your any investor later on? So first step to success is put something in your startup, skin in the game, which we technically say. Either put your money if you are working or employed somewhere. If you're a student, ask your parents. See, you will ask them gift and they'll give you gift. Why not ask them that gift money for a startup? So that's the first stage. Second is your friends and family. So one beyond that, move to your friends, your family, some kind of small funding from 5 people to make a small amount to start your startup. That will help you. If you're able to do these and sustain for 1 year, it becomes a very clear line when you go to an investor, and they see the value. Yeah, this person is able to sell it to at least 10 people, maybe family, but unko believe karaya isne. So that's a very positive impact you give to the VC or angel. VC comes later, angels comes before. So I would restrict myself to angels right now. So this is a very, so I think Sagar, let me make it that Sagar, you explain the process, how it happens. I'll just give a context, what to take care of before you go to an angels or VCs. Definitely there are few startups who might need bigger amount of money, and especially if you're going into deep tech, probably then even more money. If you're hardware, a lot of hardware needs a lot of money because you need equipment, you need resources to buy to produce something. Then come to incubators, they'll help you out. At S.P.I.T we give 10 lakh rupee, up to 10 lakh rupee as a grant to hardware startups. We give up to 25 rupee seed funding to early stage startups. So we are there to support you before you can go to angel also. So follow these steps, create value at each step, and then move to an angel, which will be very easy for you to sell your idea than just going with your blank PPT saying this is I want to do, but I haven't done anything right now because paisa nahi hai. Then angel won't entertain you, because think of a different from angel side. Like you, thousands of people are sending them PPTs. How can they check each and every one? They can't. So they just see few points ki okay kuch funding hai, kuch kiya nahi kiya, so reject karo. They don't even go to the idea, because they can't go to the idea. 1,000 ideas they can't read every month. So they have these metrics to probably identify few startups where they can have an initial discussion. So having said that, I think Sagar, over to you to define how the process happens. If once they clear all these steps.
Yeah, absolutely, Sandrapan. Good that you touched upon a very fundamental point, because this is something that is very important to think. And I think let's discuss only angel investment today, considering the stage that we are discussing. Okay, maybe we can have a separate interaction around VC and for the interest of the time as well. So, because it is good to know, because we now know incubators, we now know accelerators, we now know universities, e-cells, because these are the players who are actually in the initial stage. And of course, angel investors are also one of the key contributors in these stages. So it's good, it is relevant. Okay, maybe VC is on the another stage. So to keep the maintain the relevance, so like the term angel itself, right? Angel farishta, right? The word angel actually means that only, right? So it means someone, maybe a high net worth individual who invests money, and oftentimes, of course, in startups and help them grow. And in return for investment, of course, an angel investor will take a small portion of equity in the startup, meaning their own certain percentage. Okay, and the reason why they will invest, so that once these startups become successful, and their own share of the business will significantly grow in value. So that is their purpose of investing in startups, right? Because they are coming in at a stage where possibly no one else is putting money on your idea, on your business. And no one, like, this that's why the term angel is, right? No one is there to put money, and that's why they come in and put in their money, right? Now, what kind of, I know the second follow-up question could be, what kind of equity, what kind of share I have to give? Okay, so there is no standard answer to this. Okay, but usually an angel investments can happen between 5 lakh to 50 lakh. Okay, many people call 1 crore also as an angel investment, so there is a lot of ambiguity there. But whatever I understand, in my, my knowledge, what I can share is somewhere between 5 lakh and 50 lakh, maybe up to 70 lakhs, but under 50 lakhs for sure. Okay, and then the equity percentage could be anywhere between 5% to 20%. It could be based on various parameters. This time will be short to discuss those various parameters, but this is how this investment works, and this is what are the expectations. Okay, now, angels, it could begin from your friends and family. It could be professionals who are professional bankers, lawyers, or for that matter, people who high net worth individuals, right? HNI. They have money. They have possibly made money working in their corporate domain. They might have their own family money. They're already businessmen. So these are the people who put money, right? The other ones could be business executives. They are the people who have an experience in running large businesses, so they can also be angels. And there are then angel investment companies whose profession is, their profession is actually in putting money in startups. So I'm just sharing 2 3 examples which you can google and read and try to explore and learn more. One is the Indian Angel Network. Mumbai Angel Network is the other one. Third one is 100x.vc. They are angel investors, so you can read about them. Then, of course, crowdfunding we discussed. Funders are also, in a way, the group of people coming together and putting small investments. So now today we have crowdfunding platforms, but again there are different social groups. They come together and they put money in startups. So, but the thing is, we have to identify, and it starts from friends and family and networking. It starts with that, and of course, scouting for such organizations on Google and trying to reach out to them, connect with them, and this is how the typical initial process is, right? Now, and then there are so many. I'm just taking few names who are investing in startups, like Ashish Gupta. You can read about him. Amit Somani, Sharat Sharma. Sanjay Mehta. These are the people who are constantly investing in startups, and they already have their own methodology. In fact, they also conduct a lot of master class around angel investments. So you can Google these names, and you can share, right? You can know more about it. And one final thing, I think, which I will just touch upon in a very, very brief sense, that, you know, we all are solving for each other's insecurities. Okay. As a startup founder, you are, of course, building a startup is that, trying to build your own financial freedom, trying to build for your customers. Now we have to also understand the insecurities of these investors, right? So investors, I'll quickly brief it, maybe you can just make a note of it. The angel investors would want to know who the founders are, what is the credibility of their team, what is the big problem that they are solving, what is the personal pain the founder has gone through. Okay. The idea. Okay. And as Chandrapan pointed out, self-funded, as a startup, self-funded. Who are the people who are supporting? Who are the advisors at the initial stage? Advisor could be even your professors, even could be incubators. Okay. What is the unfair advantage? How is your product different, a solution different from others? What is your product? What is your traction, initial traction? What is your mission? Business model, how have you modeled it, the market size, and any recommendations. We'll maybe later in the coming months we can deep dive on each of this. But my reason for sharing these terminologies is, at least you should start thinking in this direction. So this is what I had to share around angel investments. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Sagar. And just you have touched upon few investors' name, but there are also just for the group. There are a lot of groups also, right? Where a lot of angels they come together and they put in money. So it could be 10 angels putting money together, and
Yeah.
it's like a small kind of like crowdfunding. You're 20, 30 people coming putting together. Similar way, they could be angels also coming together and putting money, and they all are represented by a network. So like Indian Angel, Mumbai Angel, Chennai Angel. So all these networks are there across where you can get these help. Um, so I think. We will wrap it up. If we have questions, we'll take the questions. Otherwise, I think we are done with the session. We have kind of covered all the three topics. So open to the questions now. Shrena, what do investors look in a startup, and how can one get funding? Bluntly, if I want to answer, what they look is if in 3 years the startup can give me 10x return or not. If the startup can give 10x returns, now how can they give 10x returns depends on a lot of different parameters. That what is the team, what is the idea, the technology, the plan, proposal, the tech, how they have grown till now. All these are the reasons which will define if they can grow 10x in the next 3 years. But ultimately, if the idea is they believe idea is fundable, if they can see a 10x growth, 20x growth happening in a startup. Is crowdfunding a viable option as well? Yes, it is coming across. If you are a product startup, crowdfunding is one of the best ways to do. A lot of good products have come in the world through crowdfunding. For other startups, it might depend. That now to earlier start crowdfunding would not focus on a startup. So basically, they were on product based. So that's why product based startups would get a lot of benefit. But as Sagar mentioned in between, and also I came across a new company these days. They help into crowdfunding into a startups. So there, it might not be required that you have a product company, because these people are getting equity out of your startup, so they are happy to fund even if it's a product, software, or any kind of a different startup. However, if you are going to an old kind of a crowdfunding, then definitely product startups do get a lot of benefit out of there, because if your product is innovative, interesting, people would want to get the first hand if they can see the value. I can tell a lot of products I used to follow before, where people will be creating this jacket, with a travel jacket. A lot of people funding the travel jacket, because we all need those kind of jackets. These new kind of new age pants, shirts made of probably bamboo का उससे shirts बनते थे, got famous in between. People were buying them, so those crowdfunding was happening. So you have to identify what kind of a platform do you want to go into, and definitely will help. Yeah, Sagar, you want to add something on this?
I think you fairly covered all the major points. I think you have to have just one point. See, it's very simple. Today, whatever we have achieved in life, we have given our 10th exam, 12th exams. We are pursuing our graduation. You are giving your money, your finance, your sweat, and you're giving your time to build your careers. Right? Same goes with startups. Same. So how have you funded yourself? What is the sweat and blood you are given to build this is very important at the very initial stage. And they look at team, at an initial stage, and an investor, if you're going for funding, they look what you have done in the last 6 months, 8 months. They will, so that's how you will be, seed. What is the efforts you have taken out. Failures chalega. Failures में problem nahi hai. But even to build an impression, right impression, not the impression, right kind of impression, right kind of rapport. They would want to know what you have done in the last 6-7 months. Yeah, that's it.
Thanks, Sagar. Any further questions do we have, or we close it right now?
So I think we're done with the questions.
Okay, then I think then let's wrap it up then. Any other things required, Harsh?
So we're very grateful to you and Mr. Sagar for taking the time to share this important information with us. I'm sure that students gained a lot from the experience. Thank you.
I hope one of them will incubate at S.P.I.T and say, I want to start, So if that happens, then it was a successful session.
Yes, sir.
Okay, then I think, Sagar, thank you for the support.
Of course, Chandraban, thank you for sharing great insights. Okay, then have a good weekend, everyone. Bye. Yeah.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye, sir.
Okay, thank you, Harsh, and thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.